Self-reflections, the art of well-being. I find myself at a point in my academic journey somewhere between seasoned professor and experiencing the early signs of age-related cognitive decline, what I affectionately call my anecdotage. A telltale sign is the almost uncontrollable urge to share stories, hopefully relevant ones, to illustrate a point or simply stay awake during lectures. So, predictably, I'm going to share a story about telling stories. I promise this meta-anecdote will be relevant to this concluding chapter. I was on a panel at Carleton University's Educational Development Center, discussing the joys and challenges of being a professor. During the Q&A, a young chemistry professor posed a straightforward question: any thoughts on how to approach our last lectures? Last lectures? I was eager to answer. I recounted how the University of Michigan recognized the significance of final lectures through its Golden Apple Award for Distinguished Teaching. Award recipients are asked to prepare and deliver their ideal last lecture, an idea inspired by the second-century rabbinical sage Eliezer ben Hakanos, who advised his students to get your life in order one day before you die. Since we don't know when that day will be, we should live each day as if it were our last. The Golden Apple Award celebrates professors who teach every lecture as if it were their last, inspiring students and sharing knowledge. As I told this story, the chemistry professor looked puzzled, making me think I'd missed his point, which I had. Brian, I was asking about the last class of a lecture course, not the final lecture of our lives. Do you do reviews? Go over exam content? Tell them where to pick up lab reports. I had been waxing poetic about the profession, while he wanted practical advice. But when it comes to final lectures or concluding chapters, both practical matters and deeper meaning have their place. What follows is a blend of nuts, bolts, lyrics, and reflections. I'll revisit key concepts from previous chapters and highlight themes that connect them. One key theme will be the idea of how sustainably pursuing core projects enhances our well-being. Examining sustainable pursuit encourages reflection on our lives and provides insight into the viability of our potential selves and futures. As we prepare to conclude, I want to share a more personal reflection on the significance of what we have explored throughout this book, and invite you to take this conversation to heart. The sustainable pursuit of core projects. Chapter 9 emphasized the importance of our personal projects and how we perceive our progress or success in those projects to the quality of our lives. I now propose that the sustainable pursuit of our core projects shapes our overall well-being, encompassing health, happiness, and general well-being. We will start by defining core projects, then explore the various factors that contribute to their successful and sustainable pursuit. Getting to the core, linkage and resistance. Some personal projects become central to our identity and provide a strong sense of meaning. I call these core projects. How can you identify your core projects? First, identify projects that are most meaningful to you, based on their importance, alignment with your values, and self-expressive nature. Those meaningful in these different ways can be considered core projects. Another approach is to consider how each of your projects relates to your other projects, viewing your personal project system as a whole. Some projects are closely linked, and success or difficulty in one area significantly impacts others. Disturb a tightly linked core project, and other projects falter. Consider two individuals with the same project, write a book. This is a common goal among individuals on the website 43 Things. For one person, writing a book may be a minor project with little impact on other areas of her life. She sees it as something worth doing, but not crucial to her identity. While achieving it would be nice, it's not a defining endeavor, and she prioritizes health and family. For another person, writing a book might be intimately connected to all her other projects. She believes it will bring prestige and opportunities to meet important people. It will also prove her worth to her mother-in-law and provide her with focus and fulfillment. It's a personal trademark at this stage of her life. On the surface, both women share the same project, but one is peripheral and optional, while the other is core and deeply meaningful. A significant consequence of core projects is that they are less likely to be abandoned, even when it might be wise to do so. Abandoning a core project would require a major shift in one's life commitments. This resistance also means that core projects are less likely to be derailed by competing projects or opportunities. However, this resistance can have a cost, particularly if a core project is pursued with determination despite losing its motivational force and viability. In such circumstances, the project becomes unsustainable, and our quality of life suffers. Let's explore how to enhance the sustainable pursuit of core projects. 3 emerging themes from previous chapters provide both a summary of our journey and a perspective for reflecting on our lives and ability to thrive. These themes essentially represent strategies for sustainable pursuit: adaptive reconstruing, self-change, and context monitoring. Adaptive reconstruing, reconsidering our perspectives. In the preceding chapters, we explored the advantages of adopting complex and adaptable perspectives in understanding our surroundings. As highlighted in Chapter 1, venturing beyond initial impressions and employing a more intricate framework is beneficial when encountering new individuals. While first impressions may suffice for brief, insignificant interactions, they can be misleading when evaluating potential romantic or business partners. Flexible and adaptive construing expands our capacity to shape our actions and interact with our environments. Later, we observed that creative individuals possess an openness to experience that fosters complex thinking, including the ability to simultaneously entertain conflicting perspectives on events and objects. Now, let's investigate how a similar capacity for complex, adaptable, and flexible construing can sustain our core projects. When we initiate new projects, they are typically imbued with freshness, meaning, and a sense of efficacy and optimism. However, over time, even core projects can lose their appeal, become increasingly incoherent, and appear disconnected from the evolving contexts of our lives. This stagnation can undermine their sustainable pursuit, negatively impacting our overall well-being. But could we revitalize these projects by reconstruing or reframing them? The following examples illustrate how reframing our projects can yield positive outcomes. The first example involves the personal reflections of 2 esteemed organizational psychologists, Carl Weick and Jane Dutton, colleagues and friends at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. In a book on renewal in professional lives, they each contributed chapters that candidly and touchingly portrayed their contrasting approaches to achieving this. Jane discusses gardening, a personal passion, as a rich metaphorical base for reinvigorating her professional projects. In an email exchange with Jane, Carl reveals his distinct approach to project renewal. While acknowledging the aptness of gardening as a metaphor, Carl focuses on Jane's need to weed her garden and projects to allow her core projects to flourish. However, Carl perceives the matter differently. You work on longer projects, e.g., 6 years, than I do. You think of renewing a life. I think of moments of renewal, which occur more often. Carl also notes another distinction: you weed in order to sustain large projects. I shrink projects in order to accept more of them. Finally, he observes the different content of their metaphorical gardens. Your garden is full of people. My garden is full of books. Your relations are face-to-face. Mine are vicarious. These differences are indicative of broader differences in their overall approach to their projects. Carl recounts an instance when they both presented papers at a conference. Jane wore new eyeglasses with a subtle red tint, while Carl wore reading glasses. Her glasses presented the audience in warm hues, whereas his glasses blurred the audience and sharpened the image of his paper. She literally viewed the world through rose-colored glasses, while he viewed it through highly focused, cooler lenses. However, in reflecting on their differing worldviews, he affirms the value of both perspectives. A second example of how project reframing can enhance our well-being comes from research conducted by Alia Crum and Ellen Langer at Harvard, focusing on hotel room attendants in Boston hotels. These attendants typically clean 15 rooms a day, each taking approximately 20 to 30 minutes. It's a physically demanding and repetitive job. Many attendants complained of receiving little physical exercise, or so they believed, and many experienced burnout relatively quickly. Crum and Langer investigated the potential effects of informing the attendants about the potential health benefits of their daily routines, hypothesizing that such awareness might elicit a placebo-like effect detectable through physiological measures. The attendants were randomly assigned to 2 groups. One group received information that cleaning rooms is a healthy form of exercise that fulfills the Surgeon General's recommendations for an active lifestyle. The other group did not receive this information. 4 weeks after the intervention, the group reframed their everyday cleaning projects as good exercise, exhibited a decrease in weight, blood pressure, body fat, waist-to-hip ratio, and body mass index. In summary, project reframing, adopting new perspectives to construe what you think you are doing, can have positive health outcomes. Personal metaphors and project reframing. Metaphors can be a powerful tool for reframing projects. One effective approach involves using metaphors to help individuals and groups creatively rethink projects that have become stagnant or ineffective. This technique leverages a person's or group's specialized knowledge to generate relevant associations that can be applied to the struggling project. The process involves creating 2 lists, one detailing the elements of the stuck project and the other outlining elements related to the chosen metaphor. By examining potential connections between these lists, new perspectives and solutions for the project can emerge. For instance, a military officer, Colonel Pautin, identified low junior officer morale as a stalled project, citing issues like laziness and friction among officers. Drawing upon his expertise in ice hockey, he listed elements like goal, offside, assist, and penalty shot. By connecting these elements to the morale project, he realized his officers might not be receiving enough immediate positive feedback, as performance reviews were infrequent, unlike the immediate feedback in a hockey game. He also recognized that teamwork, represented by assists, was not adequately valued. Consequently, Colonel Pautin reframed the project to include more frequent feedback on achieved goals and recognition for officers who assisted others. These changes yielded positive results, and he even applied the same metaphorical thinking to his relationship with his son, realizing the need for more frequent feedback and acknowledgement of his contributions. Personal constructs revisited, re-evaluating core beliefs. Another approach to sustaining core projects is by modifying the personal constructs that shape our understanding of them. Our personal constructs, as discussed earlier, can both provide frameworks for anticipating events and create limitations. Fixed role therapy, FRT, is a therapeutic technique that aims to challenge and expand these constructs. Imagine being cast as a butler in a play and fully immersing oneself in the role, adopting the character's soft speech, attention to detail, and unobtrusive helpfulness. As the role blurs into real life, one might observe new things and notice different reactions from others. This experience can lead to questioning whether to return to one's original self after the play concludes. Similarly, FRT involves creating a script of a hypothetical person embodying constructs contrasting with the client's typical ones. This script, based on a self-characterization written by the client, proposes who you might yet be. By role-playing this new persona for 2 weeks, the client experiences the world through a different lens. The goal is not permanent personality change but to demonstrate the capacity to adopt new perspectives that can unlock new possibilities. For example, someone primarily using the construct of idiot versus genius might limit their pursuits. A script encouraging them to use skilled-unskilled instead could foster more possibilities, as skills can be learned. By adopting this construct, the individual can identify pathways for personal growth and development in themselves and others. Self-projects, matching, stretching, and self-determination. Following our exploration in chapters 2 and 3 of how both inherent traits and freely adopted behaviors impact our well-being, let's examine their connection to the long-term pursuit of meaningful projects. Firstly, a fit between one's personality and chosen projects enhances the experience of project pursuit. For example, conscientious individuals often find their projects, spanning academics, health, and social life, to be meaningful and effective. Conversely, those prone to neuroticism may encounter challenges in these areas. Extroverts tend to thrive in projects centered around interpersonal connections, such as socializing or recreational activities, but may struggle with academic pursuits. Individuals experience the greatest happiness when their inherent traits align with their projects and the narratives they construct about their lives. We've observed that individuals with sociable tendencies are happiest when engaged in interpersonal projects and when their self-descriptions emphasize connections with others. Therefore, understanding your stable personality traits can inform your choice of projects, increasing the likelihood of success and long-term commitment. However, understanding our lives requires considering more than just stable traits. we must also account for free traits. As discussed, our core projects may necessitate acting out of character. A neurotic individual might project stability in professional settings, an introverted teacher might act extrovert in the classroom, or a highly agreeable community organizer might adopt a fierce, even disagreeable stance to combat social injustice. These out-of-character actions, enabled by free traits, can facilitate the successful completion of core projects, pushing us to grow and adapt. For instance, recent studies indicate that encouraging introverts to act extrovert can actually boost their mood and well-being, highlighting the benefits of stepping outside one's comfort zone. However, sustained performance of these behaviors may eventually take a toll. Prolonged behavior that contradicts our true nature might not be sustainable. To mitigate the potential negative consequences, we can seek restorative niches where we can reconnect with our authentic selves. But what about situations where acting out of character isn't occasional but rather a deliberate effort to change our traits, such as becoming less assertive, more extrovert, or less abrasive? These self-improvement projects have significant, and seemingly paradoxical, effects on our lives. Research indicates that individuals engaged in self-improvement projects are more prone to feelings of depression compared to those focused on other types of projects. This may stem from the tendency for these projects to become obsessive or from a lack of confidence in their successful completion. Because believing in our ability to succeed is crucial to our well-being, we might be tempted to discourage self-improvement efforts. However, such caution is warranted, as self-projects also have interesting connections to creativity. Highly creative individuals are more likely to embrace their self-projects, viewing them as opportunities for exploration rather than burdens. Why do some people struggle with self-improvement while others find it invigorating? The answer may lie in the origins of the self-project. Consider two individuals both aiming to become more outgoing. For one, the project stems from external pressure. Her boss insists on a change to improve sales. The alternative is to find a job better suited to her personality. For the other individual, the project arises from a personal realization that many things she values require overcoming initial hesitancy and pushing herself to be more outgoing. She experiments, finds success, and embraces it as a core project. In the first case, the change is externally mandated with an implicit threat. In the second, it originates from within as a form of self-expression. Internally driven projects are more likely to succeed, as supported by self-determination theory, which distinguishes between internally motivated goals and externally regulated ones. Internally generated projects are more sustainable and beneficial for emotional and physical well-being compared to those that are external and controlling. Therefore, the seemingly paradoxical link between self-projects, depression, and creativity likely depends on their origin. When self-change is viewed as a personal initiative rather than an external requirement, it is more likely to be meaningful, manageable, and sustainable. Context monitoring, scanning, seeking, and shaping our environments. The initial strategies for sustaining core projects focused on reframing projects creatively and initiating personal changes to enhance well-being, essentially concentrating on the individual. However, solely focusing on oneself while neglecting the surrounding environments is limiting. Therefore, the preceding chapters shifted focus to the environmental contexts of our lives, the situations, places, cities, and social ecologies where we pursue our core projects. We explored the nuances of having a sense of control or agency and its contribution to emotional and physical well-being, acknowledging its generally positive impact. However, we concluded that this sense of control is only adaptive when based on an accurate assessment of the actual environmental contingencies. Are the necessary components in place? Are aspirations grounded in a realistic perspective? Essentially, have we thoroughly scanned our context? Consider a parent whose child is away at college for the first time. Their core project involves offering advice, abundant love, support, and financial assistance. Sustaining this project necessitates careful scanning of the ecosystem. Is the child returning from December break the same as the one who left in September? Have they changed significantly? Do they have new friends, and do these friendships bring positive or negative consequences? Are you still pushing for vocationally relevant courses even though the economy is improving and your child has discovered a passion for medieval history? Failing to scan for updates risks pursuing projects aligned with initial aspirations but unsustainable due to changes in the social ecology. In essence, accurate scanning enhances the vigor and viability of project pursuit. Contexts are not just constraints, they can also empower the pursuit of what matters. Some situations provide the scripts for enacting our goals and desires, and certain individuals, the high self-monitors, are particularly adept at navigating these situations. Similarly, cities and regions attract individuals who seek a good fit between their personalities, core projects, and environments. The concept of a niche helps understand the relationship between people, projects, and places. We initially discussed niches in the context of finding solace from acting out of character and the value of restorative niches for reclaiming biogenic natures. However, a restorative niche is a specific adaptation of a more general niche, an identity niche, where we find an optimal alignment between interests, traits, aspirations, and environments that facilitate their expression. When stimulus-seeking extroverts move to vibrant metropolises or anxious introverts find solace in quiet libraries, we observe niche-seeking in action. Ecologically speaking, niches are contestable. Typically occupied by members of one species and defended against intrusion by others, competition also exists within the species for niche access. This dynamic also occurs in human families. Consider the stark differences between siblings, perhaps even suspecting different fathers. In Born to Rebel, Frank Sulloway argued that family dynamics involve children competing for parental resources by occupying and defending niches. Firstborn children initially choose their niches, while later-born children must create and find their own. Sulloway suggests that firstborn children exhibit conservative traits like conscientiousness and neuroticism, making them rule followers who adopt their parents' values. Later-born children face the challenge of competing for parental attention and resources with a larger, stronger sibling who may act as a quasi-parent. To overcome this, they create their own niches, becoming exploratory, norm-bucking, and potentially rebellious rather than conscientious and traditional. This theory of family niche dynamics raises an interesting question. What if a later-born child has a natural tendency to be careful, cautious, and compliant? If the older sibling already occupies that niche, the later-born child may need to act out of character to create a new one, potentially requiring the long-term enactment of free traits instead of expressing inborn dispositions. As a result, later-born individuals may need restorative niches to mitigate the cost of acting out of character more than their older siblings. There may be a valid adaptive reason why a younger sibling fiercely resists older siblings taking over their secret hideaway or bristles when questioned about being the family rebel. Self-reflections, reconciling and revitalizing. As we conclude, let's revisit our journey. We've explored how personal constructs, while framing our experiences, can become limiting cages. We examined the connection between stable traits and life outcomes, and how free traits can propel us towards our goals. We highlighted the benefits of agency, balanced with environmental awareness, and cautioned against overzealous lifestyles without the leavening of play. We observed how situational demands shape self-presentation differently for individuals, and how creativity demands imagination, commitment, and recognition of others' contributions. We surveyed the interplay of geography and personality, noting the attraction of specific personalities to particular regions. We considered the significance of personal projects, especially core projects, in providing meaning, structure, connection, and emotional richness, and how these projects can be revitalized when they lose their luster. Now, we pause and ask, how are you doing? Have you reflected on your own life throughout these chapters? Life's major transitions, graduations, marriages, divorces, promotions, job losses, retirements, often prompt such reflection, urging us to consider our direction and how to proceed. Subtler moments, like a heartfelt conversation with a friend or delivering a eulogy, can also trigger deep introspection. Even a sleepless night grappling with an infuriating encounter can lead to self-discovery and the need to reconcile conflicting aspects of ourselves. In these reflections, you may recognize the distinct roles you and your self play. You construct yourself through personal constructs, which can lead to a self that is either closed off or boldly adventurous. You might act out of character, leaving your comfort zone, or find yourself in situations that exert unwanted influence, making you feel unlike yourself. Perhaps a core project has transformed your sense of self, creating a new version. These interactions can be illuminating but also challenging, requiring reconciliation between you and yourself. Philosopher Owen Flanagan beautifully captures this theme of self-reconciliation as a final dance between the I and the self it observes. He concludes with a poignant invocation to the self. Darling self, it is inevitable, but it is also my wish that you save the last dance for me. Never mind the clumsiness, we know each other well by now. And let's hope, this seems both romantic and reasonable, that value is detected as we embrace. But it should be more than mere infatuation. It should really matter. This life, that is, should really mean something. Respect, even self-referential respect, should be warranted. It will be good to feel peace of mind, to be comfortable, to sense integrity and effort, and to recognize that we have had some fun. Remember, if anyone knows you, really remembers and knows you, especially how you dance, it is me. Me, myself, and I, CHA. This elegant passage perfectly embodies our chapter's theme, reflecting on life and striving for order while time allows. This isn't a somber image, but rather an empowering one. Our dances with ourselves can occur at any moment, not just in old age. Self-reflection, beginning with reconciliation, also sparks revitalization. New perspectives and deepened self-awareness can lead you to recognize and embrace your true self. Flanagan's dance is a pas de deux between your inner self and the self you've created, nurtured, and sometimes struggled with. It's both a reconciliation and a vision of a life well lived. The juxtaposition of integrity and effort with having some fun is deeply resonant. Meaningful lives require passionate commitment to core projects, balanced with lightness and whimsy to prevent disillusionment. We can extend the dance metaphor to include multiple facets of the self. High self-monitors are well aware of this. Can you orchestrate a dance between your various selves? Can your professional self connect with the carefree self that enjoys pizza in bed? Perhaps a way to merge strength with vulnerability? Finally, let's invite the significant people who've shaped us, those who support, love, and laugh with us. So, a toast to you and yourself, and also to the fellow travelers who shape your personality, promote your well-being, and offer support when you need it most. End of Introvert or Extrovert.